I was a freshman in college. My English professor asked us to write a paper on the most eccentric person that we knew. I didn't know what eccentric meant, and my professor said, tending to act in strange or unusual ways, and her example sentence was, my favorite aunt was very eccentric. And I thought for a second there, my mom is probably the most eccentric person I've ever met, and I wrote a paper, and my professor absolutely loved it and asked me, are these stories true about your mom that I wrote? I said they are, and I remember bringing my paper home at Christmas time and read it to my mom, and she just laughed and laughed and loved it and loved it and loved it. My mom was unique, you know. She would go through the drive-thru at McDonald's and order a Whopper, but ask to hold the garlic and then look at us like, and just laugh. Silence from there. My mom, in an effort to have more fresh air, when she would sleep at night, she decided to put a bed in the garage. And she would bundle up hat, scarf, gloves, everything. And she was on the right side of the garage, and one night Tom and I drove into the left side of the garage. And Simpson, your mom is in the bed there. And, that's my mom. My very first teaching job was at Ferris High School in Dallas, and my mom came to visit me, and she ran into my principal on her way to my classroom. And my principal just said, you know, I love having Brian as a teacher. He's a great teacher and all these kind of things. And my mom listened for a little while, and she said, well, that's great and all, but just so you know, he didn't make his bed this morning. And he will not be getting a star on the refrigerator tonight either. And she explained, she then laughed, and the principal and said, it's just like a bouquet of flowers when someone says something nice about my kids. My mom listened to Dr. Dobson, and Dr. Dobson had told her that to get into the lives of your kids. Don't wait for them to come to you. You get into their lives. And so she asked me when I was in second grade what I wanted to do, and I had never seen a Major League Baseball game, and so we traveled to California. And we went to a Dodger game, and I remember walking through the tunnel with her and opening up and seeing the outfield, the grass. It was the most green I'd ever seen, because all I'd ever seen was on a little rabbit ears television in their basement. And as we sat in our upper deck seat, because that was the cheapest seat she could find, she went over to the usher and said, now that little boy over there, that's my son Brian, and it's his very first ever baseball game. Could you maybe help us? We didn't know what kind of seats to buy. Would you maybe help us? And he kind of thought, okay, and he came back and said, follow me. And we found ourselves 17 rows behind home plate at the Dodger game. Lee Ethel did go up and ask that, and got to see Mike Schmidt did a 2-run home run and beat the Dodgers 6-5 in 1983. And as I interviewed for the Padres years later for an internship, that was the story that I told. My mom loved the Proverbs. She was constantly, telling us to read the Proverbs. There's one for every day. She would talk about wisdom. She talked about discernment. She talked about trusting in the Lord. And when I wouldn't get out of bed on time for church, she would call me a sluggard, straight from the Proverbs. In third grade, she wanted me to marry Laura from church because Laura could play the harp. And she'd be playing, and she'd say, Brian, you come home from work, you can sit by the fireplace, Laura can play the harp for you. Who cares about the harp? My mom was an inclusive person. Anytime there was something we were going to go to for church, for Awanas, for anything we were going to do, if there were seatbelts available in our car, she wanted them filled with my friends. And that was just one of the ways that she included everybody. I remember in fourth grade, she found the Oaks Park was having a deal where if you came to a free lesson, you then got to skate for free right afterward. So she invited the whole fourth grade. And we got about 10 different moms to drive the minivans. Lita and Janet Bailey, some of these people here today, drove kids there. And I remember as I was passing out my invitations a week before the party, I remember I gave it to one boy, and he said, do you want me to come to your party? And I said, yeah. And he said, it was the first birthday party I'd ever been invited to. And that was just the way my mom was. She was just she wanted everybody to feel included in that. And as the minivans descended upon Oaks Park, they didn't have enough staff to take on Sherwood Elementary, Hopkins Elementary 4th grade. It was sort of the Lord on the Flies moment there with one poor guy trying to teach roller skating to 47 4th graders. As our pastor here talked about, my mom's mission was her bus. And she wanted to be the first person to smile, laugh with those kids, and to love on them as they came into the bus, and the last person at the end of the day to smile and love on them as they got out of the bus. My junior year in high school, she started to drive the school bus for my baseball team, and I was on varsity, and she would tell the boys as they were leaving the bus, if you play really hard today, you will all get yourself a Fireball Suck-'em candy on your way back in. I had a big bin of them, and they would come back in, and they would all, yes, Miss Ethel, I played hard today, and they would all have their candy. I remember the coach got on, she asked the coach, Coach Hodges, would you like a Suck-'em candy? And he said, yes. Did you coach your best today? He said, I did, and he got a Suck-'em candy. I remember one time Coach Hodges asked my mom, well, now can you do me a favor and back the bus up over here, because this is where we're going to load the equipment. And my mom looked at him and said, they just have not trained me yet on how to back up this bus. It's taken a second. She was, I'm just kidding with you. But my mom, on one trip, she dropped off the varsity, and they drove across town to drop off the JV. And the JV baseball coach he got lost on his way to the game. And so the umpires came over and said, we're going to have to cancel the game unless we have an adult here to coach, whatever. And there's Ethel, getting a call and sitting on the bench there, and she came in, and they gave her a hat, and she tried to put it on her curly hair, and the boys, they call her Coach Ethel, and they asked her, well, what's the plan? What are we going to do? And she said, here's the plan. You're going to hit that ball, and you're going to run around those bases as fast as you can. That's the plan. My friend said, you know that. Like, what about the roster? What about the lineup? What about, she said, I'm sure you all can figure all out. You're all smart boys, and you go do that. And as the game went along, and they would look over into the dugout to, should we steal? Should we bunt? My mom would she didn't know any of the signs. Maybe you could probably visualize Ethel doing that. But they won. They won 13-8. She's the only undefeated baseball coach in Sherwood High School history. That's good. My mom taught me to love the small things in life. Just the things, going camping, going to the beach, a bike ride, raking the leaves, walking the dog, Sunday school, respect for our elderly, the organ music, her morning quart of water, a great peach, a delicious plum, watermelon, cantaloupe, but only when it was in season, a good piece of toast with your eggs, roller skating, tennis, getting your rest, going to the dump, homemade lasagna, and of course her incredible cherry pie.
Yes.
My mom had a great way of making everything fun. I remember her cherry pie, she would preface it before we would eat it. She'd come in and say, here's the deal, I pit all the cherries myself, okay? So there's a chance I might have missed one. And if I did, if you get the pit, you win the jackpot, the big jackpot. I remember Jeremy Barber was over my house and he was like, man, I hope I win that jackpot. And as my dad bit into his bite of cherry pie and just about racked his molar in the back, and he breathed out in pain, my mom jumped up and yelled, jackpot! And Jeremy Barber was so mad he didn't get the jackpot. I think it's the little things like that my mom made special. My mom was fun. When I was in high school, she had me read the book of Ecclesiastes, and the book is interesting because it just talks about everything is meaningless, that your days under the sun are limited, and that you should enjoy what you do on a daily basis because your days are, they're not unlimited. Be happy. Make an impact on the lives of others every single day. Last weekend we had the Super Bowl, and one of the cliches that coaches tell their players is to leave it all on the field. And to me, I feel like my mom left it all on the field. I feel like she lived a full life. She lived a life that was happy. She was eccentric. She was Ethel, in the best way possible. Thank you.
Wow.